So good evening. I'll call the March 12th, 2019 meeting of the Middlebury Selectboard to order and ask Ann Webster, our town clerk, to sign in our new Selectboard meeting members.
Have Victor, Nick, and Alexandra
Renew?
come right out here.
Oh my gosh.
We'll be together.
Okay.
All right. You can raise your right hand. I'm going to ask you if you solemnly swear or affirm that you will be true and faithful to the state of Vermont, and that you will not directly or indirectly do any act or thing that relates to the Constitution or government thereof. So help you God, or under the pains and penalties of perjury. And further, we'll ask you if you solemnly swear or affirm that you will faithfully execute your duties as an official elected to the position of Select Board for the town of Middlebury, and will therein do equal right and justice to all persons to the best of your judgment and ability, according to law, so help you God, or under the pains and penalties of perjury. All right, and each of you has an oath to sign. And this is Nick's. This is Victor's. And Heather, and you sign both places, date and time. Thank you. Here's your pen. Thank you. Oh, hold. Okay, congratulations. Thank you.
Now that everyone is sworn in and able to vote, I'll open up the floor for nominations for the position of Chair of the Select Board.
I'll move that we nominate Brian as chair.
Second.
Are there any other nominations for the position of Chair? All those in favor?
Aye.
It's unanimous. Brian, I'll hand it over to you for the election of the Vice
So
Chair.
next is for Vice Chair. Seek nominations for Vice Chair.
Nominate Nick Arden.
Okay. Seconded. Okay.
I nominate Heather.
Okay.
Second.
I'll okay. Any other nominations? Okay, then I think what I did last time was when we had a couple, just asked your interest in it. And Heather?
Yes, I am interested in vice chairing. Ready to step up a little more in leadership of the board. And I'm sorry, my brain is just not working tonight. So I would appreciate your support.
Okay, and you're comfortable, I'd like you still to lead the infrastructure committee?
Yes.
Comfortable with doing both?
Yes.
Okay, and Nick?
Okay, well, I mean, I suppose the reason why I would take it would be just for consistency with the projects we've had going on. But I have to admit, as I've been thinking about this for a while, it might be a right time for some leadership changes. You know, I've been doing this for a while, and I look at Heather, and I watch, especially over this past year with the Public Works, which I'm still going to call it, even though I call it infrastructure. I think she's done an outstanding job. I mean, I've heard great things, well, I've seen great things, and I've heard great things. So I think maybe, in fact, this is a good time for a transition, especially since the intention is you're going to be on the board longer than I am. You've got another 12, 14, 15 years. So therefore, you know, I guess I just have a couple of questions for you, Heather. And I'm thinking back, you know, when Victor and I, we both served as vice chair during some major projects, notably this building and the bridge. And it's pretty intense as far as trying to be in a leadership role plus run a major committee. It's, especially considering for all practical purposes, it's sort of a voluntary position, and we still have personal lives beyond that and jobs. So does that cause you some concern, especially with some major projects coming up?
Well, I would be lying if I said no, but do I think I can handle it? Yes.
I think you can too. And so, as much as it's an honor and I appreciate being nominated, I'm going to support you.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
But I do want to know is if in fact you get the vote and I don't, do I get to have, along with, are you also Vice Chair Emeritus? Do we get that title?
Well, I didn't say I was going to vote for you.
No, you set me up on that one, didn't you? So much for my friends. Lindsay, are you my friend? Okay. So anyway, I'm going to support you.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Okay.
Okay, I guess, why don't we just go ahead and,
I would say we make it unanimous for Heather.
so,
Well, we should let everybody,
Unless there's, I'm not,
No, I really appreciate you stepping up. I think you did a great job, especially at the town meeting, you were a star. So I think you deserve to be the vice chair. You did a great job.
thank you.
so, let's go ahead and vote. All in favor of Heather, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? I think we had unanimous.
I think we are. So now at this
Okay.
point, Madam Vice Chair, seems like you should be sitting here.
that's right, yes.
Which especially since if they throw anything at us out of the way, unless they're a bad shot, then Kathleen and I, this is your spot.
Okay. Do you have any disinfectant so Nick doesn't get sick?
There you are.
Thank you.
Gentlemen. So I
No,
guess
don't
before.
find that too much paper.
No. So before we get going into to approval agenda and whatnot, I guess I'd like to thank you, Nick, for all you've done as vice chair, and you know, I have really leaned on you the last few years and appreciate the help.
I'm not going away.
I know. Approval of the agenda would be next on the,
Moved.
Second?
moved and seconded. Any amendments to the agenda? No? Okay, hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, next is approval of minutes of our February 19th regular select board meeting, if anybody can remember it after all that's happened since then.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Are there any amendments to it?
Yeah, item 8, line 140 through 143, it doesn't say what we voted on or how we voted, rather.
What did she say?
143, line 143.
Like it says Laura made a motion, but there's no information on how we voted. Okay.
Good catch, I didn't catch it.
On
Oh, yeah.
143?
Oh, yeah, there's no
140,
second
so
and there's
She made a
no
motion,
all in favor, yeah.
yep. But there's nobody who seconded and what the outcome was.
Oh,
Yeah,
So that could be a typo, a cut and paste typo, or we'll just go back to the tape
let's
and,
go back and fix it. I know it was,
Mm.
I know that was unanimous vote, so.
Yep.
Okay, anything else? Okay, hearing none, all in favor of approving the minutes with the request to go back and insert the remainder of the action on line 140, signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Okay. Next is citizen comments. Is there anyone here for something that is not on the agenda? Okay, hearing none. Board organization, we need to set our regular meeting date. Has it been working well for everyone?
Yes. Yep. I'll move that we set our meeting date and time as the second and fourth Tuesday of the month at 7 PM.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, we need to set a newspaper of record.
I'll further move that we designate the Addison Independent as our newspaper of record for the publication of official notices in the town of Middlebury.
Second?
Any comments? Moved and seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Okay. We need to appoint our Middlebury delegate and alternate to Addison County Solid Waste Management District Board of Supervisors. And I know Eric's here. Now you're willing to continue to serve, Eric?
Yeah, yeah, we're making strides. We have a couple of programs going on that I'm liaison for, so I'm thinking it only prudent that I hang around there instead of trying to get someone else brought in the middle of it.
Okay. I don't see any challengers here for you, so.
You probably won't either, Brian.
I'll move it that we appoint Eric Murray as our Middlebury delegate to the Addison County Solid Waste, as Eric said. He is, I won't, okay, stop. First that.
So, moved and seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Okay, and we need to appoint a Green Up Day coordinator. And Peg Martin is apparently going to follow through with her threat to retire for
Or multi-year threat.
the multi-year threat, and nobody's been. Jen Smith here?
She is not. Her bio, as well as Caleb Bassa's bio is in your packet.
Okay. And so, pleasure of the board on this, or comments?
I'll move. You want to do it?
No?
Okay.
For it.
To appoint Malt Representative Jen Smith and Caleb Bassa as co-Green Up Day coordinators for 2019.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any comments on it?
I just want to say that we did see them at town meeting. They were there recruiting people, so already they're plugged in and working on it, and I think they'll be great.
I thought I recognized you had a comment on that. Thank you. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Okay. Did I cover all of the needed early appointments? Okay.
Here's new.
So next is liquor license, outdoor consumption, entertainment permit approvals.
Okay, so in your packet, you should have a list of everyone that needs approval tonight for first class, second class, and outside consumption. And what I would like to add to that is you previously approved liquor license for the Middlebury Dining, Mr. Ups, and now they have submitted an entertainment permit. So I would like to add their entertainment permit to this. And what they've said about entertainment is that it could be any night of the week, but that they very seldom have entertainment, but occasionally have a DJ for a special event. And so they would like to be able to do that between the hours of 5 p.m. and 10 p.m. And following this approval, we have the Greg's Market as separate.
Is the second class, yeah.
Do we have
Okay.
to do the entertainment permit as a separate motion?
Not if you would amend the motion to include it.
Okay. So I'll make a motion to approve the 9 renewal applications for 2019 first and second class liquor licenses, outside consumption permits, and entertainment permits, as presented by Town Clerk and Webster.
Okay, moved and seconded. Any questions of Ann on this? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Okay, Ann, and
The
then,
only other renewal you'll have coming is for the Above Par, that's an establishment up at Middlebury College on the golf course. And theirs is only seasonal, so you'll have that coming as well. And then the Greg's Market application from Tony Neary is for a second class, and that's been inspected and approved provisionally by the police and fire chiefs based on them wanting Greg's to be able to go ahead and open, but they would like to recheck it once it's opened. And this is an odd one in that this is a 2018 license. And so as soon as it's approved, they will get a renewal form, and then they will have to go through the process again. And this is because they're hoping to open with their license in place by mid-April. So it's kind of like a 2-week license if it's approved by the state in that time.
okay. Pleasure of the board.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve a new second-class liquor license application for Greg's Market LLC for the remainder of the current licensing year, pending an updated safety inspection once the market's open to the public.
Second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any questions on that? So this is only if they open and if they get the state go-ahead.
Right, but this process is just kind
Yeah.
of what it is, and so if it goes through on time and is available to them, then that's one thing. If it doesn't, then they would need to reapply for a license going forward anyway, for the 2019. So.
Got it. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed?
Okay,
Thank you, Ann. Okay, well, a lot of this meeting is our annual kind of structural thing. We have a pretty important one, and that's our Neighbors Together and Better Middlebury Partnership proposed plan for 2018 V-Trans Downtown Bridge Project Marketing Grant. There was a fund balance that was remaining from the activities of last year that carries forward into this year. The plan is when V-Trans and Kubricki and when we get our briefing on May 18th,
May 14th?
May 14th, then we will have the information necessary, they will have the information necessary to put together their plan for the remainder of this year, really from July 1 forward and through next year, next calendar year. So for, until then, they're going to brief us this evening what they would like to do with the remaining funds to carry them through till we get have the plan for the remainder of the year and the request for all the funds. So with that preamble, so to speak, we'll ask Nancy and Karen to come up and give us a brief. Sorry, Ray. It's okay.
What a difference a week makes. So, a week ago, as Brian alluded to, we were all set to bring to you our 2019 budget for going ahead for Neighbors Together, and we were informed that Instead, AOT wanted a 2019-2020 combined budget, which is problematic because we don't know the scope of the work, we don't know the timing of the work, and we didn't have a whole lot of time. So we'd been working since November on this budget. We were actually set to go to AOT in January, and then it was suggested that we instead, and it makes sense, get approval from the select board first before we go off to AOT. So we thought, well, what are we going to do? Because there's no way we can put together a 2020 budget in this short a period of time when we don't know what's happening. So we did in the 2019 budget, and you had, I don't think you got that in your packet, but we included monies that we did not spend from the 2018 budget. It was $34,772. And that money we were planning to use for a marketing campaign that was going to be a 4-season regional marketing plan to try to bolster up the economy of Middlebury. There would be 2 summer and winter. We're going to be outdoor marketing. We had either arts and culture would be spring and tasting trail would be fall, or vice versa. That hadn't been determined. We weren't sure. We had put it on pause because we wanted to see, we had included more money in it for 2019, and we wanted to make sure what we had and to do it the best that we could. So we took that 34,000, and by we, I can say it was not done in the vetted way that we had done with the whole stakeholders group, because there was no way to do it. We did send out to all of our stakeholders the new budget that we came up with and just said, you know, please weigh in on this. But so Karen is going to be going over that with you, and to see, we are asking for your approval on that, so then it can go forward to AOT. And our problem is that we really want to make sure that we can start our programming, because we have some pretty exciting things, and we know we have to start right away, and there's not a chance that we would be able to get a 2019-2020 budget together before the May 14th thing, and then we need a little bit of time, and we need to start some of these things now. So that is what we're going to be asking you to do tonight, is to look at this reallocation of the $34,772. Before we do that, I had shared with Brian some of the concerns and things that had come up, and I just think this may be an opportunity to just share. And we had talked about a lot of these at our last stakeholders meeting. So first of all, when we are actually at the point of presenting this budget, we present it to you first. Last year, we presented it to AOT, and then we came back to you for approval. We thought that was going to be the case this year, and then instead, we were told that it needed to go to you first and then on to AOT, which is, that's totally fine. But we were also told, it was suggested that Neighbors Together would make the presentation to AOT, and we feel that that is a stronger message. We made the budget. We're more passionate about it. We understand it. And when we made the presentation to the governor and his cabinet in September, we were basically invited to come do that. They said this would be great. And then all of a sudden it got changed, and we were not going to be making that presentation, we meaning Neighbors Together. And so I guess what we want to know is who should be making this presentation. What is your pleasure? Is it us? Is it Neighbors Together as making a presentation to AOT, or is it going to be the liaison that is working with AOT in the town? So wait till the end, but that is a question that we do have for you. As you know, I just said the timing was problematic, and we certainly would have appreciated a little more warning. And so that's something that we definitely have a concern about. And I don't know how, going forward, we can make sure that that happens. Another thing that we've been struggling with for the last year and a half is that Middlebury is somewhat looked at as a model for AOT going forward with some of these very large projects. And this Middlebury's project is definitely the largest. Our experience has been that there are different rules for different towns, let's put it that way. And I'm wondering, we are wondering, we talked about this as stakeholders, is there a way that we, meaning the town of Middlebury, could actually help AOT come up with some kind of a plan, a suggestion of a plan on how to deal with the towns on projects like this? A case in point is that when we went to AOT, we were originally told by both Eric Elkhorn and Jill Barrett that there would be no money except for some signage. Karen then went to a designated downtown meeting and finds out that Waterbury was awarded or given, or however you want to put it, $132,000 for their project that was a lot smaller, and it was not as it didn't have as much impact on their downtown. So there are all these different rules. We have a different model of how our liaison works than what Waterbury has, and then Brandon doesn't have one. So, I mean, this is the kind of thing that if there is a way that Middlebury could take the lead on this and help AOT understand that it just would be a lot cleaner if everybody got to play by
And
the
Nancy,
same rules.
Can we get into the brief here?
Yeah, I know that, but this
I will
is-
tell you that it's state governance. We don't have control over it.
Yep,
And if you want to write that up, we're happy to share it with them.
okay,
We have been as much a battle of getting that funds. We spent time with other towns too. And I think that there's some practical reasons why they don't have it because it has to go through budgeting, and it comes from different pots. And it's subject to, frankly, it's subject to the whims of the agency at the time. And so I feel fortunate that we've gotten what we've gotten. And I don't think that they're gonna write that into a standard practice. And so,
okay. Before I do turn it over, there's one other, I know, sorry. And I agree with you, I know that, but I just want it out there that there are a lot of different rules for a lot of different communities, and we are helping other communities that also didn't get money. So, I mean,
Yeah.
it's a little bit crazy out there that
no,
way.
that's the way it works, and unfortunately.
Or doesn't.
It doesn't, but it does,
Yeah.
it has worked for us.
Yeah.
And you know, I think you can write those up as an after action, and we will definitely share them. We have meetings with them, and you'll have an opportunity in our discussion with them, but don't make that the big point of it. Say, I guess my point would be, try to make a point of what you're doing positive and why it's important,
Right.
and not make it a real negative pitch to them.
Yeah, I don't, okay.
Well, you've kind of hit me negative already.
Okay, that wasn't meant to be negative. It
all
was
right.
meant to be how do we make it better? So it's all clear for everybody. And so, yeah.
All right,
I'll
take
pass it over.
Okay, so in the interest of time, I'm not going to go through this line item by line item, but if you have any questions about any of these, please let me know as we go through. The one thing, two things I really do want to highlight. The website specifically, I've been working with Jim and Chris English on figuring out how do we take what we were left with by the end of the USDA grant when it wrapped up. We had this website that had a lot of potential, but really needed somebody dedicated to kind of reaching that potential. So we've been working on creating a job description to have somebody dedicated to working on this website. That allocation is for the whole remainder of the year. So that's $18,000. What that is $25 an hour for 15 hours a week for the duration. And one of the things that Jim and I have been talking about a lot is the idea of taking this next level from a marketing perspective. So really using this as an opportunity to dive into spotlighting businesses and the things that are happening in Middlebury. And I think that what we have right now really does have a lot of potential. So I'm excited to see what somebody can do with it when that's their job. So that's one line item. And then the next line item that I really want to talk to you guys about is, yes, this pop-up shop idea. And I'm going to let Kelly really just take it over because she's gotten us so excited about it, and I think she's going to do the same thing for you guys. So this is Kelly Hickey. And she managed the pop-up shop for us in the Clay space during the holiday, the 2-minute stroll night. So
Yeah,
take it
so
away.
I am Kelly Hickey, and I own Edie and Glow, which is a internet and artist market vintage clothing business. And I do that in the format of 23 weekends out of a summer and fall sell with the Burlington City artists in a kind of pop-up style market. I was lucky enough in November to meet up with Karen and to propose to BMP that a lot of different artists in the local community wanted to know kind of the tricks of what we do in the BCA market system. And so I asked Karen if we could come into that space and bring 5 of our vendors from BCA and help them mentor our businesses here. And from that, it was so successful that in the next market that we had, we were able to actually have more heavy-sided Middlebury and less Burlington artists, which was really amazing. And I think you've heard the word through town that it brought a lot of wonderful business to downtown Middlebury. From that, I've been bombarded with people wanting more pop-ups. And Karen came to me soon after the new year and said she had been too. So we got together and we said, the thing about pop-ups is that there's a sense of urgency, and we require us to work fast, and we also need it to be exciting. So pop-ups are oftentimes a 2-hour to 1-day event, workshop, class, market, and don't last more than that. Maybe they're repeatable twice, but after that they kind of lose their urgency and excitement. We feel that this is an incredible time and opportunity and setup for Middlebury. We have so many incredible storefronts that are available, and this opportunity would allow people to get into those storefronts, see what they're like, and then possibly be renters. It also allows us to incorporate, one of the proposals I have is for a young woman who is just starting out with her own basket weaving workshops. She works with Shelburne Museum and Shelburne Farms. She's a good friend of mine from the BCA markets. She would like to use this space, but she requires leather strapping and webbing that can be purchased from the stores right on Main Street. There would be a break in her 4-hour workshop that would allow people to go get lunch, and also to park in the outsides of towns, which I love. I love our parking format because it allows people to come into town, to greet each other on the streets, to actually pass by other businesses where they can make purchases, and to look in storefronts where they get excited about actually what's offered out. If we park right in front of the institution or the business, we don't get to see our neighbors' friends or the other businesses.
How's that for a parking
I
space?
think I am the only.
I was just wondering.
I'm the only parking advocate in Middlebury, and I don't even live in Middlebury. I park in Middlebury. So anyway, I think it's very exciting. What was happening with the pop-ups that we had were people coming in and they were saying, hey, you know what, I had to go past I had to park so far away. And I said, isn't that amazing? You got to go past Schaefer's and get a coffee. You saw your friends on the street. This is an advocacy point. We can bring this idea into town and advocate for why our town is great and not why our town is struggling. And in that vein, there are a lot of businesses that are way out on Route 7, one of those being Middlebury Studio School. They're desperate to have some satellite locations to have children's classes, but they doubt that they can fill them up. I challenged them to come up with some class descriptions and that I would help them to figure out how to remarket themselves. Because what's happening is they're not reaching Facebook and Instagram. They're only hitting a market that they already know. So within this management style, I think that we can all work together and bundle our ideas together.
So in that vein, I am an incredibly spiritual person, and African proverbs speak very deeply to me. And there is one African proverb that I absolutely love, and it is, sticks in a bundle are unbreakable. And that is what I would like to call our business, is bundle, because I feel like we are bundling our ideas, we're trying to figure it out, and we just need to have more opportunities. But urgency is where we are.
Thank you.
Ta-da!
And Kelly has a full schedule already. We're looking at 3 to 5 events a month in the Clay space. So we have, as the BMP, we have started the preliminary work of, we've negotiated the rent. It's below market value for the space. We are working on our insurance, utilities, all of that, all of the sort of logistics that come along with it, to be able to offer this kind of thing that I feel really strongly about, in that when we look at what kinds of investment actually will make a difference to our downtown, this is the kind of investment that I feel really strongly is going to actually make a tangible difference in our downtown. And I do want to also say we've been talking with all of the merchants, and there is enthusiastic support across the board of the downtown merchants. So.
Yeah, we'd also like to see this as an opportunity for mentorship. We have a stage of employment flux, it seems like, in our town. There aren't enough people doing, young kids being educated in woodworking skills, and there's a dire need for that. I heard that in the health committee meeting that we had recently in January. This is an opportunity for, like, the Rebag group that was posting out bags at the town meeting. They would like to come in and do 2 pop-ups in April to kind of kick off this idea of these pop-ups and then supply the local stores with those. And so I've gotten them in touch with the Hannaford Career Center and said, work with the kids over there to show them that maybe you have some type of system to hang your bags on. And then the kids can have pride in that, and then they start using the bags, and that generation becomes the generation that rebags. So if we can bring that together in every single one of our offerings, we already have buy-in. And then that is a model for them to maybe do their businesses here again. Again, ta-da!
Briefly, the sort of the logistics piece of this as the BMP town.
Yes, I'm Chris Hammond. I'm the president of the Middlebury partnership this year. Hard to follow such a positive.
With the boring insurance.
So, a little bit of logistics. We would need an MOU with the town to the BMP to kind of set this up. That will allow us to set up the lease, take care of utilities, heat and electricity, pay Kelly, set up a salary for her, and just kind of get everything together. So in Karen's budget, that takes us through June 2019. That's what that line item is. And then when eventually we do get that budget for the rest of this project, there'll be the rest of that money in there.
So the total for the year that we were allocating for this was $25,000. So this amount basically takes us 3 months worth of that 25.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of logistics, the lease will be flexible. So if they get access, they get a new customer that they want to use that space. If we, for some reason, don't get the funding from town, we both have ways to get out of that.
Pretty much like 30 days.
Yeah, so that is the lease agreement, is that if a permanent tenant is interested in that space, we'll bow out. So we definitely want it filled. So that's the agreement with the leasing agent.
And that's the hope, right?
Exactly, right, exactly.
There's other open
Yes,
spots.
exactly. We'll be back.
So
Do you guys have any questions for Kelly or BMP on the pop-up specifically? Yeah.
So, do we have an idea of how we'll measure how successful they are? Do you have any kind of metrics that you use?
Yeah, so I will be using like an accountability card to find out how many people have come into the shops, a feedback card in order to find out, what the thoughts are about the pop-up system. And also to give this is an opportunity for some businesses that really want to stretch themselves to find out if they actually need more space. So rather than holding an event in their space, they might hold the event at our space. And this would give them the opportunity to give you feedback, like, hey, I actually want to move into this other location, and then my location becomes available. So yeah, there will definitely be quite a bit of that. And I am actually going to be giving that back over to BMP so that they can collect that information, and that we can our goal is to have this last through December 31st, kind of is how we've contracted or thought we've contracted. But maybe maybe it keeps going until we have a list of people who are waiting to get into businesses downtown. That's what I'm hoping. That's my goal of it.
And also, one piece I didn't mention is we're really looking at this as many opportunities for collaboration with the other businesses as possible. So similar to a midnight stroll, where we can get everybody to do the same thing at the same time. Whenever it makes sense, we're really looking for that level of collaboration amongst the businesses to sort of try to drive traffic to different businesses on different nights when they can stay open later.
So what we need from you is the proposal. We need to have you to vote to authorize Kathleen to draft an MOU between the town and BMP, and that would be for like April through June with these monies, and then we would be renewing it after the second part of the budget comes in. We also need to make it very clear that AOT has to sign off on this as well. So this is not just, yay, let's do it, but it is yay, let's do it.
And we also need an approval of the reallocation.
So I got a question
Yes.
about this Papa Space. The $8,000, is that going towards rents and stuff or anything else? How do you break that down?
The amount going toward rent?
So the rent is $1,200 a month.
Yep.
We're figuring that the utilities, heat and electricity will be somewhere around $300.
Okay.
And then Kelly's does have a fee of $1,000 a month.
And
Okay.
then we're looking at, our insurance is still waiting on a quote.
Yep.
I'm waiting on a quote from them.
So at the last meeting, I had to leave during this discussion, so I didn't get to hear everything. But Christy had brought up a point about trying to get some revenue out of the
Yes.
business. Do you have a plan for that?
Yes,
What are
we
you
do.
trying to?
Kelly actually just drafted the beginnings of a rental agreement.
I don't have an answer for that.
With various rates associated depending on the vendor and the event and things like that. So
Okay.
we are, look, that's a really good point. So at our BMP meeting, part of the board discussion was about creating a more sustainable model. With the BMP, and I am so guilty of this, it's really not BMP, it's really me that's guilty of it. I just want to give everything away to everybody, and I'm terrible at fundraising. So I just feel like I'm constantly like, let's do this for free and let's make it great. So the board really is great at reining me in sometimes to say, let's charge some money for this. So Kelly has come up with a really sustainable model, I think, that could take us in the future if we need to.
Yeah, and it's still reasonable enough that if someone is in a situation where they really can't risk a lot of money, or it's something that's really serviceable to the town, then I think it is fair enough to say, hey, we're willing to consider waiving that rental fee for you, just to be able, because your idea is, really interesting. I think it's kind of time to say that this town is also interested in having new thoughts, and so that could be an idea. Just to give you an overview, like the rental fee for a 2-hour time with half an hour on each side of that is only $25. That makes it allowable for like a class to take place. It would be up to $50 for 4 hours, but as a manager of the place, I really don't want to be there for more than 4 to 8 hours. And so the programming will be within that spectrum. And we don't think that it'll be more than 3 to 5 events. There are lots of other people who want to get on the list. That might have to be proposed at another time.
And also, just to make a point, there is a discrepancy in how much this is actually going to cost versus how much we budgeted.
Right.
So that funding that would be coming in would be to fill that gap.
Okay.
So that the BMP is breaking even, that we're not actually making money, again, not making money from this, that it is actually a break even. And if for some reason that was different, then we would let you know.
I think, there's a distinction between if it's a commercial business that wants to set up something, make money, then it's justifiable to charge them.
Yeah.
But if it's somebody providing a service to the town, maybe we can give them a break, right?
We also discussed, when you commit and sign a contract with something and you've paid a little money, that gives you motivation to
Exactly, yep.
to make your
Yeah.
press and get excited about it. Whereas if you haven't put anything out, then maybe there's not as much urgency. So I think we are
Agreed.
committed to finding that happy medium.
Yes.
Cool.
Laura?
I love it. I love bundle, you called it?
Bundle, yeah.
Yes, and so I appreciate the whole presentation, and I definitely support the direction you're going in. And I wondered if you've, and I know that bringing interactivity to the downtown is a consistent message, Karen, that you and Nancy, that you've brought to us, and this will certainly do that. And I love what you said about how the parking can be viewed as an asset, like walking in and past all of the activity. And I've wondered if you've thought about the streetscape and the sidewalkscape and what your plans are for that. And
So sure, yeah, we met with Dave Wetmore, and he kind of really, gave us a really good idea of like the capacity for what can actually happen inside. And we don't ever expect for this to go beyond the threshold of the actual store itself. So if somebody wanted to come in and they wanted to teach a sketching class and they wanted to take the group outside and go sketch along the sidewalk, as a manager, I would say, no, you're limited to really working inside. If you would like to have a day to go and like check that out, do that on your own time and then come back and use this as studio space. And as far as the window display, we'll have 3 or 4 projects in there a month, or pop-ups or workshops. Each one will be represented in the window space, and the window space will be very consistent with the rest of kind of the curation of Main Street, so that it doesn't look like it's shouting at anyone, but it's still inviting, just as it was during the pop-ups when we had kind of the Christmas or holiday style theme. So yeah, we have thought about that a lot. There's only one pop-up that will, I think, have a lot of activity going back and forth with it, and it's the Memorial Day Parade. We have something that we're considering, and it's called Pop-Tart. And it will be in unison with the Addison County School District's Spring into the Arts event. And that would be the Addison County students working with professional artists to curate a show. And within that show, we have a local baker who makes Pop-Tarts. And she would actually be packaging those, because we spoke with Dave Wetmore about this too. We will never have the intention of preparing food there. It's not a food service business. Or alcohol, no alcohol. So even we won't have tastings or things like that of alcohol. We might have them for like cheese or syrup if it's a holiday event. But this Pop-Tart thing, I can imagine that they will be traveling in and out as they go to the curb, right? So I think that's going to be the only problem, but I can't imagine that another business isn't contending with that as well during Memorial Day.
I was thinking more of tables and chairs like Community Barn has put out.
Oh, no, nothing. Yeah, we're not even planning on having a sandwich
I know the
board.
pop art part isn't, but I'm talking about the other marketing for bringing interactivity into the downtown. So
Outside of that space, you mean? Outside of this?
the whole Main Street.
All of Main Street.
And in front of the town office,
Yeah.
Sidewalk sale.
Oh.
That's what I meant by sidewalks.
We would have to, I don't have any plans for that right now, but I think it's a great idea. I wouldn't mind exploring it a little bit.
Yeah, same. Same, but I think, again, the parking is key. Having it far away really does allow you to see a better flow of things.
Meet our new parking ambassador.
A new ally.
Any other questions, you guys?
No,
Questions? Did you finish going through I had a question.
So unless you have,
The Health and Wellness Initiative, did you cover the health and?
No, we didn't.
Yeah.
Do you want to do that? Yes?
Yeah, sure. We've been working, when Sylvie's here as well from Porter Hospital, and we've been working with Michelle Butler, who is Rise Vermont, and she's a part of Porter, and they're putting together a walking, biking challenge, and that's just kind of a start for this year and building up for next year. So during the big 2020 time, it would be, people will be used to it, and we'll pull in the parking, outlying parking, and bringing people in, and there'll be signage, and there'll be materials that will have to be printed as well. So.
Have you guys seen Bristol's 30 miles, 30 days initiative?
Yes.
So it's
Kicking
basically
off.
That happened in
Yeah.
the summer, and then we tried to coordinate it in the fall,
Yeah.
which I'll be coming back to you soon for a conversation about.
But they just we know that we needed some money to get that started, and that has to happen before the next go-round here.
You'll see in our packet that we got results back from our town meeting poll, and one of the things we asked was, if people had visited certain websites, including your website. And so actually, people still haven't found that website.
I'm not
So
surprised.
it's really good that you're dedicating
Yes.
some effort to driving people
I
to
think
that.
that a year from now, after we have really invested somebody's time and attention in this,
Mhm.
we're gonna have a site that we're really proud of.
Yeah, I agree.
There's a comment in the
Okay.
back here.
Yeah, sorry. I just have a question, and this is a marketing budget, and I just don't know where the, marketing
Right.
is hiding in that,
Yeah,
in
exactly.
that budget. I will say just from the newspaper's perspective, we haven't gotten a lot of these initiatives, and I think these are fantastic ideas, and fantastic programs.
Yes.
We would love to help you educate other people in the community about them and spread the word. So I'd like to know that there's actually marketing in the marketing budget.
Yeah, so that was,
It's rolled in, the marketing is rolled into the pop-up budget. So in terms of marketing all of those events, so there's a marketing budget within that. And then, likewise, there is
Same with
some,
the website,
yeah,
it's just,
exactly. So it's just, it's rolled in, it's not line items, but,
The reason why it's titled the 2018 marketing budget is we're asking the select board to reallocate those funds to this. So it's not necessarily going all to the marketing at this point.
but it also, when we are looking, we're still planning on doing the big marketing push. We just don't know how much money we're gonna have to do it.
Yeah.
And so that's just a question mark right now.
Yeah. My comment is really to say that we've heard a lot of people saying I didn't know about that, and I wish I had, and, so I'd love to see your efforts get, doubled down with more people.
Yeah.
So do you want a motion?
Go ahead, Laura.
Go ahead. Pleasure of the board.
I move that we approve the proposal from Neighbors Together and the BMP for reallocating the unused 2018 Bridge and Rail Project Marketing Program funds for 2019 marketing activities. And do you want the MOU part of that as part, or is that a separate motion?
In doing that, does that authorize you as part, since it's a part of the proposed budget, to work on the MOU with them, or do you need a separate?
Why don't I work on the MOU? We'll get the approval from V-Trans, and I'll bring it back to you at your next meeting.
Okay.
Okay,
All right, then that's that.
okay. Second, moved and seconded. Any other questions of the board? Comments?
Did you need to mention the amount? You didn't do it?
Oh, for $34,772.
Okay, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed?
Is
Okay.
it also possible for the select board to move to waive the $40 fee that we have to do for zoning permit?
For a zoning permit?
The select board can pay it out of their other services budget.
Okay.
Thank you, thank you.
Before we break out,
So-
and thank you again for the support. I want to touch on what Nancy mentioned earlier with regards to the budget. We all realize this is a limited time frame project. There's a lot of moving parts. I think the frustration was probably the way we did the first year versus the second year versus what this final thing is going to look
Yeah.
like. So I do want to thank you for the opportunity and just realize that behind Nancy and Karen, there are 100 or so people in the community that are trying to come up with these ideas and trying to drive it.
Yeah.
So I do ask, when we have that final budget, whether it's May 14th or June 1st, whenever that is, we really would like a lot of support to help drive that thing, to get us that money as soon as we can, to get us through this project, to get us to better Middlebury.
Yeah, I was going to say something here when you're done, since we've done that now for the next guidance, we're looking at May 14. Can you get us back your proposal, you think, within the 2 weeks? You've already basically laid out what your 2019 is.
Yeah.
And now you have some time to at least start brainstorming 2020.
Absolutely.
You know
So-
the major drivers,
There-
but you
Yeah.
don't know
We
necessarily the
we
time
actually
frame.
we have a group right now that's
Yeah.
been working on it since the beginning of the year, looking at 2020 initiatives and what's realistic to be able to accomplish. I think it just depends on how specific you need that budget, but, I mean, we can certainly come up with something that encompasses generally the work that we want to do.
Yeah.
And then we can work on getting down to the nitty gritty, but,
I think if you have general categories, but
Yeah.
then if in those things that are especially laid out, the pop-up is a phenomenal idea. And, you know, I saw the excitement it generated through the holiday events was in there, and just really excited to see. And that's a driver of something that we can sell. It's an easy sell because it's not just them paying for ads. It's us trying to generate excitement to fill stores in the downtown, and it's an economic driver, you know, and of opportunity for young entrepreneurs to maybe experiment or something. And hopefully in the end, you out of that, it's kind of like a makerspace. And so those funds might even be able to come from the state out of a different pot, because if you can drive that specificity. So I think the more you can help us with that, but we're all in. We're fighting for that money just as much as you want it. We see the need for it, and we've committed to it. And you know, part of it is the way the project is staged. They're getting ready to let the contract for that entire period, and I think that they want that budget as all part of that one contractual period. And so it's not so simple as, you know, as an operating budget for running the municipal facility. It's a project that is staged, and every stage is not the same length of time, but they have fund sites that go to, you know, that stage. And so they're trying to work with us as well. Ahead of this, we went over and met with the Agency of Transportation leadership to make sure they were still on board and committed to supporting us. And so let's just work together and do the best we can for the town of Middlebury to get the funding in, and to have, I mean, the excitement that you've created is and everybody, 100 people working together on a project like this that means so much for our downtown. It's, you know, we're pretty happy to see that still happens, and so thank you for everything you do.
So am I hearing that if we go in with more of a generalized budget, you think that's?
What you heard is that general is acceptable, but more specificity, it makes it a lot easier for us to argue for it and fight for it.
Yeah. No, I can.
So as much as when you have a you know, the pop-ups, it's pretty easy to say, this is how much in the pop-up, this much goes to rent, this much goes to this, you know, the power and utilities, this much goes to insurance, and this is how we're running it. We're running this many pop-ups per month. They're gonna run during these 9 months of the year. Whatever you're doing, the more that we can show that it's not just a paintbrush swag, it helps justify the entire length, the breadth of the budget that we put together, and say we've really given this a lot of thought, and we're going to use those funds, especially because we didn't use all the funds this last time. I've been in government a long time, you know, 31 years in the military. You didn't use it last time. Well, we're just going to cut you a little bit this time. So we really need that specificity show as much as you can on the short notice that we're giving you to show how we're using those funds.
And I don't want to keep beating a dead horse here. I think in terms of the timing, that's another thing where the select board and the town of Middlebury can support us. So if we get the budget, you know, and we run with it and come back to you for whatever approvals or discussions, just kind of supporting that budget as it is, because the marketing money, you know, a lot of it was timing, and a lot of it was also kind of tied up a little bit of paperwork, so.
Yeah.
all right, thank you guys.
Yes.
Well,
And-
one of the things I just want to leave it is I'm listening to everybody, and I'm hearing the thought process, which I appreciate, and you know, some of the frustrations are out there. I think in the lessons learned is if we can keep some pretty good notes about that, and maybe write up the narrative at the end, so that as it goes to AOT, as again a lessons learned of what we had, they will at least have that information for the next town. and town after that.
I agree.
So, because I don't want these thoughts lost, because there's a lot of good ones in there, and I'm afraid if we don't have
Right.
a.
I mean, we're all on the same team,
We
and we
are.
want to make this work better, and it's just our frustrations and confusion, and so how do we clean that up and go forward? And I think that's where we're coming from. And then just one last thing, who should be presenting this budget to AOT?
I think we need to both be there.
Okay,
Uh,
we would like to be there.
Yeah, I think you
Okay.
need to be there. We won't know the exact answers to
No.
everything, but I think, they're gonna wanna hear from us
Okay.
as a group. Like last time, we were all together, and, frankly, I'd love to see a presentation ahead of time, and then we nugget it down so
Yeah.
so they don't, their minds don't wander, and we get them on the.
We were quick with the governor.
We appreciate your support.
Yeah.
We
Thank you.
always feel it every time we come, and we appreciate it.
Thank you, guys. Thanks.
Okay, town meeting follow-up. Observations from town meeting. You want to start with the town meeting poll?
If you'd like. So we had a very good response. About 277 people responded to the poll, and we've already tallied the results. You see it in your packet. So no surprises in terms of the demographics of the respondents, mostly older property owners. And yet, I think we got some pretty good direction that people are generally satisfied with the services of the town of Middlebury. We asked this time how the people felt about Middlebury being friendly generally, and the results showed that most people felt we were generally friendly. And we also asked if people had witnessed any hate language, and a few did comment on that, particularly I think the experiences of children in unsupervised spaces like school buses and hallways. So I think the supervisory union is aware of that and working on that, but it's good for us to see that. We also have to keep in mind that a lot of these written-in responses are just, one person maybe, or just a few respondents, but they do give us an indication of things to work on. We did get a lot of write-in comments about both complimenting our services, but also some areas that we might pay attention, a specific road maybe, or something like that. What else could we say? The town's website is very popular and well-viewed, and the library is right behind it, I would say. And maybe you've noted some other observations too in going through the town poll. We really appreciate people taking the time to do it, and certainly I want to thank Fred for compiling all the results. It takes a lot of time to get that done, and so quickly, for us by the very next meeting after town meeting, so that it can inform us. So, that was the other thing. So the feedback on the location of town meeting was interesting. So I think generally people preferred being at the high school. We know about continuing to work on the reception with MCTV, so we'll continue to work on that. People like the handheld mics. We probably don't need the mics in the aisles, because they seem to interfere. So we'll work on that. They could see the PowerPoint. In fact, even things that were small could be made bigger, but it was just so much better than our last experience in the auditorium. I think people appreciated the social hour-ish part, and we could continue to refine that. It was interesting that I saw some people indicate that parking was harder, and I thought it would be easier, and generally, I think it's easier, so I'm not really sure what the issue was for the one or maybe two people that wrote that.
It was just cold outside.
Maybe it was
We
cold.
had to walk.
Yeah, could have been that. But generally, it's a better well-lit and more spacious parking arrangement than Mary Hogan. So those are just some of the general observations that I saw. in the
Okay.
poll.
Any other observations, anything that would help Ann as far as planning for next
Yeah, I
years?
think the venue was pretty fun. I think it was very good. High school, the auditorium setting, we're setting up. The only one thing I did not like was the way we were seated in a line. We were completely blocked by the governor speaking or you speaking, the last people like Lindsay and I sitting. We had to veer down to see what's going on there. I think if we can have a seating a little bit of like an arc.
Horseshoe? Yeah.
Not completely like horseshoe,
Yeah.
but at least so we can see that. The mic system was pretty good, the sound, everything was very clear. I like the lobby part, I like the Mary Hogan better because it was very, as soon as you get in, everything was there. This looked a little bit disjointed from the event itself. So, but it was great otherwise.
Yeah, I know Ann and I talked about that too, like, is there a way to flow people so that they get into the cafeteria?
just that-
Major a little more, but it's kind of hard, they come, we could have not tried to set up displays in that channel where there are higher tables and just, kind of had them more on the round tables in the cafeteria to draw people more into that space to visit a bit. So maybe that's a refinement for next year.
Another thing I heard a few comments about was the school budget, that people didn't get notified. Like we get over the town meeting, we send postcards. Nobody got the school one.
They were surprised.
I know Heather got up and said that it's always the last Tuesday of the month, which is fine, but I think they should send reminders. Last year they did. This year they didn't send it.
Yeah, they did send a postcard. It's tiny. Ours is a little bit bigger, which we worked on, and also providing more information on a postcard. But we also have a very well-visited website and active listserv, and I
Did
know
they
that
send one this year? I don't think they did.
they did. It was gold, and it was,
We didn't
but it
get
was
it.
small.
And a lot of people, I actually saw Ruth Hardy yesterday, and we talked about it, and she said, maybe they sent it late, and I said, no, we didn't, and we didn't get it.
Did that go through our listserv, Kathleen, do you know?
The school meeting?
Yes.
It did not. I can put it on my note.
I'm just thinking that.
I thought we did list it under upcoming meetings.
Okay.
I know we did.
Yeah,
We
I
didn't do
know
we
that
didn't do a
Elizabeth
dedicated
Ottinger
announcement.
had mentioned that to me last year, so I thought I'd try
know
to
we
include
did,
it.
yes.
Okay.
Did we put the election results on our listserv? The election results for the school district?
I don't think.
No,
we did not.
Did we?
put them on the website, but we did them later.
Oh, okay. Because I never saw the election results until, actually, I was talking to somebody.
See, I don't actually
Yeah.
get
Until
them
1 in the
until the
morning.
next
It was
day.
2 days after we got the school board election.
School board was a couple days later.
Yeah.
Well, because it's multiple
directors
county,
here.
multiple
Yeah, because
towns
when I-
within the
I
county.
texted you all at 1 in the morning.
That's right.
That's when the results were done, about quarter to 1.
Yeah, and I don't
Guys,
usually
we're
get any
still
school
counting like that?
results until
Well,
the
some of
next
us were.
day, but we always have the directors for Middlebury here, and now it's the
Right.
whole district, so we don't have that, and it's not part of what we said.
When Kathleen, I saw Kathleen's email, and I said, okay, Victor lost and Nick won or something, but I didn't see any school results on there.
I thought I lost and he won.
Any other observations or comments? Ann, do you have any questions?
I was just thinking that Laura mentioned it, but it's really important, I think, that we try to help MCTV to figure out, working with Comcast or whatever, so that they can get what they need in terms of being able to do their broadcasts live, because that was really not good for people who were at home. All day during the next day of the election, people coming through, almost everyone mentioned that they were not able to watch the meeting and they couldn't hear it, and the picture was breaking up.
What happened? Was it because there wasn't enough broadband, or?
I think Kurt probably knows better in terms of, Dick Photo as well said that they definitely have problems with the equipment being old enough that it's not modern enough
Yeah, it's like really old. We actually had a Comcast technician 2 weeks beforehand check it, and we managed to jury rig away for it to work. But then, of course, when we tested it the day of, it was back to square one, so we had to come down and fix it. And then near the end, it just ended up breaking again. So I think at this point, Comcast might as well put in like a new system. But I mean, if they are fine, just keep sending down technicians. I mean, you know, I guess that's just how we're gonna need to do it. But
It's just too bad that, yeah, it needs a little upgrade.
yeah. But yeah, Kurt's, I think, working that out. We'll see if we can do something about that, but.
Okay.
But I think any support they could get from us
Right.
as well would be helpful. Another thing, the JPs were really great in jumping in and helping with
Yes.
things. Not only did they do the microphones and that, but some of the check-in, and they were handing out the budget, things like that for people that had. And I had a couple people who were like directing traffic to kind of know where to go. And I think we can get a little better at that as well. But if we're going to have food and things like that from Mesa, I think that was really great. I'm kind of wondering if we can start a little earlier, kind of advertise a little bit earlier social time, because people are coming in maybe like even 6:15 and 6:30 and that, and we're not checking in by 7. And so that kind of held it up in terms of people getting checked in. But I think if we started food, social hours a little bit earlier, then I could start kind of coaxing people at a better time to start checking in. And probably going to need JPs to be more helpful as well, because we did have people registering to vote that evening. So we had 5 people come in to register to vote right at 5:07. And I had brought registration forms in that and wasn't really expecting a lot of people to be registering. A couple had registered prior to that. But if people are going to come in like right at the time the meeting should start, I'm probably going to have someone there ready to do that.
Huh.
Took me away from that.
Yeah. Oh,
Okay.
it seems that we could definitely promote it on our postcard, you know, that goes out for one thing if we,
Yeah, I think if people
We're gonna
get
do that.
used to it
Mhm.
and they're expecting it, I mean, they seem to enjoy the time to be able to
Mm-hmm.
talk to each other and time and seem to appreciate the food.
Well, last year was our first time of doing that, right? And then, so it's kind of grown a little bit. It looked like there was more this year, and my only thought was is to get them out into the bigger cafeteria area, is if you actually maybe put a couple tables across and kept everybody from coming down that narrow hallway and sent
Just
them
gonna
out.
say that, if we close that little hallway
Yeah.
and make that an entrance, have the cafeteria as a lobby space,
Yeah.
I think that would be much better.
yeah. So people did like that we discussed the local option tax sooner in the agenda, like having the meteor stuff. So we did get feedback on that people appreciated that. And I know that there were young people there for discussion of some of those later articles, and they were wishing for earlier discussion of the bag ban, for example, instead
Yeah.
of toward the end, which is when I was shuffling with you a bit about that. So I think we're getting better at setting our agenda, and that as we look at our agenda next year, we can think about things like that.
I think people really appreciated it, felt like they had more time as a community to talk,
Yeah.
express their ideas, to ask questions, more than presentation and very little time to respond.
Okay.
I just have 2 quick comments. First, I do, I do think that we should have something from the school, even if, like, a couple of slides that, from the school's presentation that show, you know, the budget and the tax rate, even if, like, I do it, if no one from the school you know, just so we have something to give the voters so they know what they're going to the polls for the next day. So I don't think it has to be long, but I think we should have something. And then I also think that I shouldn't do so much talking, and other members of the board should talk more. And I didn't realize when I was prepping how much, you know, how big of a part no one, like, you know, Farhad and Lindsay, you know, you guys need to get up and present.
Brian and I discussed that and have some ideas about that.
And you did a wonderful job.
Well, thank you, I appreciate that, but I think I am not,
You're what you're saying.
everybody should get up, like, we used to, everybody had a section of the budget that used to get covered, and everybody had a part. I would like us to move back to that a little bit.
But I think that's going to vary. I mean, a lot of the discussion was revolved around the infrastructure.
That's why it
and
Infrastructure.
local options. So,
Because the
so
local
that
option
could change from year to year. But what I did take out of it is, first of all, I think there's solid support for us taking care of that which we have. I mean, I heard that. I think we probably can do a little better job of how it's explained, but I think part of that really does lead to the fact that we've talked about this for a while, and it really is time to probably have a meeting or so, one or upcoming meeting or two dedicated to this issue of that surplus fund and ways that we can optimize it and use it to the advantage to achieve our objectives of taking care of our facilities, our infrastructure, and just think about it in greater depth, and so that we really have a good, firm grasp of that. But I did hear solidly, yeah, let's take care of what we have, and this is a way to do that. So.
Yep.
I have one question that doesn't pertain to the evening town meeting, but the Australian ballot, Article 9. Did you get the letter?
We do have the letter.
Anne prepared a letter on the climate solutions. Vote results to the state, and it was late arriving in your packet, but it's going around now.
I didn't see it on here, but I didn't know if you were able to get it. I wrote it, and Kathleen tidied it up for me and got it on letterhead.
I don't have a copy. So.
It
It's
is
in
in
our-
your
It's in our packet.
folders this evening. Yep.
The March 12th, dated March
Yeah.
12th, that
So
one.
this is an updated one? This is-
And then there's a thank you
No,
note
that's
the official one.
Yeah, okay.
for us all to
Got the
sign
color
this
copy.
evening.
Oh, yeah, of course.
So
I do know.
if everybody's good with this, I'm going to move on.
And also, you have a thank you letter to Mesa for the refreshments.
We did ask about parking on the poll, but we can come back to that discussion another time. 'Cause we won't-
I want
we'll
to
never finish.
process
We'll
and
never finish.
enjoy the whole parking discussion from earlier. It was an I enjoyed that.
So you'll get me to sign the letter?
We're doing it now, Ann. So next is possible dates and topics for our board retreat.
I won't be here April 30th, I'm in Chicago, so. only miss-
You're gone April 30th?
Yeah, 29th and 30th, I'm not here.
How about May 2nd, everyone?
May 2nd is fine.
That's okay.
What time?
Is early evening doable? It's maybe 5 to 7:30? Or do you want to do a little bit later than that? 5:30?
5:30 would work.
May 2nd is a Thursday, by the way.
What's that?
It's a Thursday.
I know.
No, I can't work. The second is,
Okay.
Oh, okay.
The 2nd doesn't work for you?
no.
Hmm.
What other days
What
that
about-
week? There's the 1st, there's the 29th.
Yeah, what about
So the
first?
29th and 30th do not work for Farhad.
Yeah, got that, okay.
Does the 1st work for you?
Is it first?
What time would we meet?
5
5 o'clock?
or
Yeah,
5:30.
that would work.
5:30?
5:30.
5:30?
5 or 5:30.
Is everybody looking at May 1st? Does May 1st work for HUD?
Yeah, I think so.
Laura?
Yes, it does.
So far, no?
Okay.
Why don't we shoot for does May 1st work for you, Kathleen? Yeah?
So for those at home, what we're planning to do on that evening is to have a evening retreat workshop during which Director of Public Works Planning, Dan Werner, will provide a comprehensive overview of upcoming water, wastewater, highway, and stormwater infrastructure projects and projections for the timing and cost of the projects. Later, a second workshop retreat, perhaps in June or July, will focus on developing an integrated, sustainable, long-term plan to finance the infrastructure improvements based on the first workshop, which of course will include a discussion of the local option tax and cross-street bridge fund surplus. So this could be the basis going forward for some public meetings on the whole strategy.
I'm sorry, did we say 5 or 5:30?
5:30.
5:30,
5:30.
by popular demand.
Okay.
Is everybody, it sounded like a really good idea to have Dan come in and walk us through that and have an opportunity to have some good brainstorming time about what the needs are and fully understand them. So we're okay with that for our, I mean, that's a pretty full agenda there. I don't know if we can fit other topics in there, Catherine.
So at your board retreat, you generally do some other organizational items, including the operating principles and looking at the list of projects. The list of projects, for one, will be informed by the conversation with Dan about what's coming up. You also typically do the board appointments as the board's representative to various commissions and all of your subcommittees, planning to do that at your next meeting. So we'll get a list of...
In 2 weeks?
In 2 weeks.
Okay.
Which, your next meeting is going to be on Monday, March 25th at the fire station.
At the fire station?
Yeah.
At the fire station?
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't catch that one.
And that was a Monday night.
Okay, so what we have left under this agenda item is the annual signature of the operating principles. These are the same principles that the board adopted in 2018. And if you have reviewed them and they continue to reflect and represent your understanding of best leadership practices and accurately characterize the Select Board's desired relationship with community members, the town manager, fellow board members, and town staff, they're available for your signature.
My only comment on Kathleen is the titles now
Okay.
changed.
Okay.
But, I mean, we could easily
I will, I can update that and bring it to your next meeting.
do that now.
Okay. Thank you.
As far as the operating principles, should we have a motion to, can I get a motion to adopt those operating principles? And then Kathleen will have the actual principles for our signature at the next meeting.
Okay. I'll make a motion.
Oh, Nick made it, but you can
I
second.
think Nick's moved. You want to second
Oh,
it?
you moved?
No, go ahead, you can go first, I'll second.
Okay, I move it back.
All right, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed? Okay. There's a request for amendment to agreement with VHB for engineering services for Pulp Mill Bridge, Seymour Street Sidewalk Project.
Okay, as you may recall, VHB did the design of the sidewalk project, and Dubois and King is going to be doing the construction oversight services. So this is just in the event that Dubois and King needs some information from VHB so that we can reimburse VHB for their work.
I'll move to authorize the town manager to work with council on drafting that amendment to add up to 2,000 to VHB's design services contract for the Seymour Street Pulp Mill Bridge sidewalk project, to provide the support to the construction inspection engineers for the project.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay. Budget reports.
Okay, you have the budget reports in your packet. Happy to say that we're tracking just about the same as we were last year. Bill Kernan provided a detailed report on the Public Works budget and where we stand on that budget. We'll see as time goes on where we are projecting at year end. Hopefully, we're at the tail end of the winter, but we don't even want to say that out loud. Noted in the equipment that between equipment repairs and equipment repair services and parts, we're exactly the same place we were this last year at $103,000 in both of those line items compared to an $83,000 budget for repairs and equipment repair services in the equipment fund. Also to note that maintenance of mains in the sewer department is up with the Halpin Road repair that we had to do. And that's, other than that, everything seems to be on track.
Any questions of Kathleen on the budget?
Just one thing I realized when I looked at these, did we put enough money in what we just approved to increase for the audit? I realized it was kind of over what we had anticipated. Did we put some more in? 'Cause
We
I
did.
couldn't remember.
We did.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
What about the MCTV money?
MCTV money is in the budget, but that is for equipment in this room. $8,000 was approved. So I'll continue to work with Kurt to see if there's something we need to come up with to help with the school broadcast.
All right.
Does the supervisory union also get a live feed, so would they share that?
I understand that they hold their meetings in the library.
They have their meetings in the library.
I don't know if they telecast the plays and such.
Oh. Okay.
I'll be in touch with Kurt about that.
Okay, next is our next college lunch. The college proposed a date of April 11th to get together, and Kathleen is going to be out of town, but I think as tough as they are to try to get it in within all of that they have going, that it probably behooves us just to have Chris attend. It'd probably be good for him to have an opportunity to attend once in a while anyways. And so there's a list here of our past board members' attendance, and we talked about it at the last meeting we did, and I can't, I thought we had talked about Lindsay, but she couldn't make it. It helped me if, and you were
Yeah.
gonna make this next.
But I said I could come to this one, yeah.
So,
and I can.
so my proposal is it would be myself, Heather, and Lindsay at this, and
Chris.
with Chris.
Okay.
And if everybody's good with that, then we need to talk about, are there agenda items that everybody would like included? We'll be working over the next couple of weeks finalizing the agenda, but if there's something that you want to make sure we talk about, report to them, share, or ask any questions, and bring back, that this would be an opportunity to make sure we get it into the agenda.
Seems like updates on your last hit list is gonna do it, you know? I can't think of anything else.
Okay. Next is approval of the check warrants then.
So I motion to approve total expenditures in the amount of $497,209.60, of which $396,957.64 goes to accounts payable, and $100,251.96 is for payroll for the pay period of February 20th, 2019 through March 12th, 2019.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay. Town managers report.
Okay, a couple of things. We have a condolence letter to Daryl Goodrow. As you know, longtime resident and former town clerk and treasurer Dick Goodrow passed away on February 22nd. A letter of condolence from the Select Board to his wife Daryl is included in your packet. We also have a resolution recognizing the retirement of Officer Scott Fisher. After 32 years of service of our police department and many commendations. In summary, whereas Officer Fisher has had a distinguished career exemplifying duty, honor, integrity, initiative, and dedication of duty, resolved that we, the Select Board of the Town of Middlebury, on behalf of the residents of the town, take this opportunity to extend our appreciation to Scott Fisher for his many years of exemplary and loyal service to the town of Middlebury, and we send him our best wishes on his future endeavors.
I just have a question about that. I don't know. I know Scott Fisher personally. He's a great guy. He installed the security system in my store recently. What's the policy of the town when we do this kind of thing? Is it for all employees of the town, or is it for some departments? How does it work? I'm new to
We
this.
have been trying to do it for all of our employees.
Okay.
Yep.
Good. I wasn't sure.
So there'll be a reception here on the 29th? Or that's to be determined? Or-
There is not. Scott asked for no reception.
Okay.
And on that, you may have seen in your packet or on the website that Jared Harrington was named the American Legion's Police Officer of the Year for Addison County in a very nice ceremony on Sunday evening.
Congratulations.
Okay, reminder that also at the American Legion on Monday morning is the governor's legislative breakfast. Breakfast starts at 7 and the program begins at 7:30. Select,
I'm sorry.
yeah,
How does that work? Do you have to RSVP or get
No, you
tickets,
just
or you
go.
just show up?
no, you can just show up. Spring Select Board Institute, this is the last call for interested parties to let me know that if they'd like to go on Saturday, March 30th. I have Farhad and Lindsay already attended. And there's a Community and Economic Development Forum on Wednesday, March 27th, 2019, if anyone would like to attend that. It's at Burke Mountain Resort in the Northeast Kingdom. And
Okay.
that's all I have.
Thank you, Kathleen. Board member concerns. Farhad.
It was a great town meeting. Got to see everybody. Thank you for showing up. The other thing I want to bring up was, I don't know if this is a proper forum. We live in a world where we live in a civil society, and once in a while you see this ugly hater that comes up, they rear its ugly head. On Craigslist, there was an ad in Burlington advertising their apartment, and it said at the bottom, it said white Vermonters only. It's so despicable that people do that. And I reported to the Human Rights Commission, and by the time it got reported, they have actually taken down the ad, so we don't know who did it. So I just wanted to let my feelings known.
Laura?
I know that there's an opportunity to let the Conservation Commission know. Did you mention this, Kathleen, already, that meeting? Okay, so we're invited to talk about what we value in Middlebury, and I was trying to think about what they're looking for in that public meeting, because we've done so much of that valuing. And it made me think again about open space, because I'm thinking that's what the Conservation Commission is about. So I think it could be a very important conversation, so I'm just mentioning it, because I know that we have 2 opportunities for that. One is this Thursday at 6:30, and I can't remember when the other one is now. Ugh. But it's in our meeting list. So if you still have that email from the town of upcoming meetings, it's listed there. I think it would be important. It's just made me think too, like what about those lots like across from Denneker's and, some other open spaces, and do we want them preserved? How do we want them developed? I think that may be part of what they're looking for from us. And I think that's a really, really important conversation. That's all.
Okay, thank you, Victor. Heather? Lindsay?
Well, the meetings that Laura was just talking about are March 14th from 5 to 7 p.m. in the town offices for the Conservation Commission, or March 24th from 3 to 5 at Sarah Partridge Community House in East Middlebury. And I don't have anything other than that.
Okay.
Nick? The only thing I have is be thinking about, in anticipation, I think when our next meeting, we'll be doing all of our select board assignments, and if there's something that you're passionate about that you're not involved with right now, that you'd like to get involved, I'd like to hear from you. And if there's something, I know a few of you have talked to me about, moving a little bit of positioning here, so we'll try to line that up and have a straw man ahead of time. Kathleen will get it out as part of our board packet, and so if you have something I'd like to hear, and then Kathleen and I'll work with Kathleen to get it updated, and as a proposed thing, doesn't mean we can't change it during the meeting, but if there's something that you'd like to do, I'd like to hear about it. We have need for an executive session this evening, and with Heather's voice being sick, if Lindsay could help us, that'd be great.
Sure. In accordance with Vermont's open meeting law requirements, I move that the board find that premature general knowledge of the consideration of contracts and personnel issues would clearly place the select board at a substantial disadvantage, because the select board risks disclosing its litigation strategy if it discusses the contracts and personnel issues in public.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
I further move that the board enter into executive session to discuss contracts and personnel issues, and under the provisions of Title I, Section 313A1 of the Vermont statutes.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Okay, so we're going to move into executive session at 8:40.